My favorite voice actors. So,
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
what is the most difficult part of being a voice actor and actor?
Well, it's that even though you're only doing voice, they still make you get dressed to go into the studio. You know,
Yeah.
nobody sees me. Come on.
Yeah.
No, sometimes it can be difficult. If at the end of every session you do different characters. Say I do 5 different characters during one session. At the end of the session, we save all of the fighting and the dying of the characters towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of screaming, there's a lot of high fighting voices, things of that sort. And those can be a little taxing on the throat and on the voice.
Yeah.
But it's all pretty much a joy. And imagine trying to think of 5 different ways for 5 different sounding characters to all fight and die. That's where it gets exciting and challenging.
Yeah. Because it wears your throat out. If you're screaming or yelling, it eventually wears your throat out, you know.
Well, I did a game once, a voice game, a game called Unreal 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't play any of the actual characters in the play. What I played was a whole range of people who only screamed, fought, and died. So if you kill anybody in the game Unreal 2, it's probably me. And that's a challenge as well, to play different characters.
Yeah.
And, what I love is sometimes you have to get them to die in their own unique way. Back when we were doing the Elder Scrolls Morrowind, I played the Bretons in that.
Yeah.
And I do recall that I asked, well, how do these guys sound? And they showed me the picture of one guy who was an older gentleman, grayish hair, had a little goatee. And his name was Socius Ogala. And he was the one who met you coming off the boat.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we've been expecting you. Come right in. So I created a character for the Bretons that sounded like this. And back during Morrowind, and for a while in Oblivion, a lot of the characters for an entire race would sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
So everybody sounded like this old guy with the goatee. And if you were fighting and he gets killed, well, he sounded like a bit of a sissy. You know, he'd get out there with the sword and say, please, no. And, people would come in and they're like, I want to play a mighty warrior, a mighty Breton. And then they hear themselves screaming like a little, baby child when they're getting hit with a sword, and maybe they weren't too happy with that. I think they're happier when I eventually became the Imperials for Oblivion.
Yeah. I've played
old criminal scum.
Yeah,
a little more manly.
I played a lot of those games, and I remember your voice in all the Elder Scrolls games, Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. And,
yeah, I love the Elder Scrolls. I love working in that world. And, the thing is, before I played Morrowind, I had not really played a lot of RPG games.
Mm-hmm.
And once Morrowind came out and I had done so many voices, I felt I have to play this. And I was playing PC at the time. Now I'm doing consoles because I like a big screen and my couch. But at the time I was playing on the PC, and I put like 500 hours into this game. And one of the fun things of playing these role-playing games is if you play for so long, you start to get so immersed in the world that once you finish and go to sleep, you even dream in that world. So the surroundings of Morrowind were so real to me that when I went into voice things for Oblivion, I had that whole context, that entire world that was so immersive that I sunk myself into it. And I think the voice work in Oblivion that I did was much better than what I did in Morrowind, because I really felt like I was trotting upon the streets of Tamriel. And that, immersing yourself into the character and in their world so much that you can feel the weight of the armor and you can feel the swings of the sword, I think that just helps make the character more realistic for you and them.
Yeah. It's amazing how video games has changed over the years, especially, well, any type of voice animation, It's changed so much over the years.
Well, I mean, it's become more in depth. I mean, and it's become, there's much more of it. Look back to Morrowind, where half of the characters that you were looking at in Morrowind would speak to you with dialogue. And before that, in the Elder Scrolls and a lot of games, look at Fallout 1 and 2. There was some voice acting. Mm-hmm. Jim Cummings did some great work in that. But a lot of it has
like text dialogue. I know,
Yeah. So it's a lot of text dialogue.
Mm-hmm. And when the years passed and it was more, voiceover instead of, you had less text dialogue. And I guess that's better because I guess some people got tired of reading the text dialogue,
Well, some people got tired of it. Some people maybe couldn't read it. I don't know. But I had no problem with it because for me, I hear the voices when I'm reading a book. Do you not, when you're reading a book, do you not create the voices and the accents and the characters come to life in your head?
Yeah.
And when you're reading dialogue on a screen, the same thing happens for me. You can create entire worlds of theater in your mind. And so I love reading novels, and I love reading comics, and I love playing games that have dialogue that comes up. However, I don't mind when you've got voice acting as well, because we all love movies, mm-hmm. and that's the direction where this is going. And to be honest with you, it is. There's as much money in video games these days as there is in a good movie.
Right.
There's just a whole lot more gameplay and many more hours and a lot more surprises you can get from a video game than you can get from a movie. A movie has one ending. The best video games have several.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's what I think is so diverse about video games. It's more open world, more expanded than a movie or television.
Yeah, I mean, it is a movie or television. It is very much that.
Yeah.
And it's so much more. There are a lot of things that you can do in a video game that, I mean, have you ever been watching a movie because of technology? Because of technology and the way we can pause our televisions and roll back, and with video games you can be interactive. There are times in a movie that you're sitting in the theater, don't you wish that you could pause it and get up, or you know what, I didn't hear that little bit of dialogue, let me roll that back and hear what they said, and you forget, nope, this is linear, this is going in one direction, it's gone.
Yeah. See, when I'm older, that's why I do my radio show. I like to talk to these actors and voice actors like yourself. And because when I'm older, I want to be a voice actor and actor, which I think is very interesting and fascinating.
Just working on it and doing it. What type of character do you like to play? Characters?
Yeah, I like to do crazy, wacky, kind of goofy characters. And first I have to think it in my mind, like you said. I have to think what the character is going to look like or be in my mind, and I try to get a picture of what I would sound like,
That's exactly right. And, a great book, if you want to hear one of the better books to read about being a voice actor.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. If you want to read one of the better books about being a voice actor, you should go look at Mel Blanc's That's Not All, Folks. Mel Blanc is one of the best voice actors that there ever was. Did all the voices for the Warner Brother cartoons. Mm-hmm. And back during the era of radio plays, he was so in demand, going from one show to another, playing a number of different characters. I love Mel Blanc. What I love about Mel Blanc is he can, he's Bugs Bunny, he's Daffy Duck, he's Porky Pig. He was Elmer Fudd later. He wasn't the original Elmer Fudd, but he was Elmer Fudd later. Mm-hmm. He's Barney Rubble. But if you didn't know that they were all Mel Blanc, you wouldn't know that they were Mel Blanc. And as a voice actor, one of the highest compliments I think anybody can pay to you is that they didn't know all those different characters were you. They just took them as characters. So if you can hide yourself and become so immersed in a character that that's who that person is to whoever's watching, viewing, or listening, then you've done your job. And I do remember one time I was out in L.A., and, at the end of all the Warner Brothers cartoons, they say, "That's all, folks."
Uh-huh.
And that's why his book is called "That's Not All, Folks." So he's giving you more information. But I went to visit his grave after we had done a comedy show out in L.A., and he's at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, and I went over to his tombstone, and there it said on his tombstone, Mel Blanc, "That's all, folks," which I thought was pretty funny. And then I started talking to Mel. Someone had given me a rose at the show the night before, and I put the rose on Mel Blanc's headstone, and I was talking to him, and I said, "Mel, I loved your work for years and years. You've really inspired me, and if you were here today, I wonder what you would say to me." And suddenly I hear a novelty car horn go off outside the cemetery very loud, as if it's right next to me, and it goes da 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 da. And as if Speedy Gonzalez himself was standing right next to me, and I started getting goose flesh, all the hair standing up on my arms. I'm like, "Okay, thanks, Mel. Gotta go. Take care. Bye."
Yeah, Mel Blanc was one of the greatest voice actors to this date, and
yeah, Mel Blanc, as far as I'm concerned, is the godfather of all voice actors.
Yeah, I think they called him the man of 100 voices, or a man of
1,000.
Yeah,
man of 1,000 voices. Yeah, not just 100, 10 times that. No, he was wonderful. Have you not read That's Not All, Folks?
No, but I'm going to check that book out. But I've seen a whole bunch of documentaries and interviews about Mel,
yes,
and I've enjoyed them.
They're all wonderful, and he was great. And that you can't go wrong by following Mel Blanc's footsteps if you're trying to get into the voice acting field. Yeah. He's wonderful. There are a lot of other people who have come since, and people who are wonderful. The people who are out there today, one of the best, Jim Cummings, I got a chance to meet him at a convention recently, and that was just awesome. And I get a chance to meet at different shows. I'm going to be at MagFest this year in the Washington, D.C. area, and maybe, I don't know if I'll be back to AwesomeCon, but I've been there a number of times. And when you're at these places, you get to meet the people who you only hear occasionally, and you're contemporaries with them, but still and yet you're kind of in awe because you love their work. So you just remember, though, they're all people just like you. Yeah. And we're all just somebody sitting in a closet talking to ourselves.
Yeah. Actors and voice actors are all human beings like us, they're all human, We're all human.
Well, you're either a human being or you're a Daedric god of madness.
Shea Gorath. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, see, people like it if you're in public and you do a Shea Gorath voice. They think it's very funny, but they don't like it if you come up behind them and start speaking like Lucian, the giants of the Dark Brotherhood. They don't like that.
Yeah, it would probably be a little creepy. What is your most favorite voices you've ever done? But you've done quite a few.
I love Shea Gorath. I do love Shea Gorath. I love Lucian. Lucian was one of the first that I got to do something a little different than the normal race voices that we were doing in Oblivion. And Hermaeus Mora is very strange and different. Hermaeus Mora, I am looking for the Dragonborn. He's kind of fun. Yeah. I love Fox is tough to do, but Fox is fun. I win again. And I love that he would come along with me. I'd yell when I'd play the game. He'd kill everybody. He'd take all my kills, get out this huge laser Gatling gun, and there are bodies everywhere. And he's like, I like how no one attacks us when you're around. And I'm like, because you killed them all, Fox. You killed them all. I don't know what that means that I talk to myself when I play video games, but I do. Lucian got a little more chatty in Skyrim after he became a ghost. And so I'd have to constantly be going, Lucian, shut up.